Hello and welcome to Walk to Cinema podcast. And today, unfortunately, I'm not joined by my co-host, but I have a very special guest, Rui Alves de Sousa, from the podcast À Beira do Abismo. So if you speak Portuguese or if you're interested in any of this, you can listen to him, but I'll let him talk more about himself. So, hello, Rui, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, Gonçalo. Thank you so much for the invitation to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm Rui, of course, and I have a podcast called À Beira do Abismo, which is the Portuguese name that was given to the book and the novel and the movie The Big Sleep. The movie is quite well known, and also the book as well. And it's like translated to English is something like On the Edge of the Abyss. It's an interview podcast with mostly Portuguese guests, but sometimes I received international guests, not only from English-speaking countries, but also from Russia Russia and other Eastern countries. I'm not remembering, but I know that there are more of them. But I received like the directors Fred Skepsi, Agnieszka Holland, and Peter Medak, the comedian Rob Brydon, and in Portugal some famous and not so famous people, but people with something interesting to say. And yeah, basically is that.
Yeah, so even if you don't speak Portuguese, you can go check it out. And don't forget to subscribe to both of us and drop a like.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much for remember that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk before we go into the movie. You're part of the panel for the Oscars, the Portuguese coverage of the Oscars. How is that?
Yeah, it was like a last-minute call. Friday at 11 p.m., a person from the RTP, the Portuguese TV network here that was broadcasting the Oscars, told me if I was interested to be commenting the Oscars from 2:30 a.m. in the morning to 3:30 a.m. And I said, yeah, okay, why not? And it was a nice experience. I had the pleasure to see one of the nominated movies on a big screen. It was Minari. It was screened before the Oscars. And it was like a surreal experience because I prepared so much. I watched all the movies before the Oscars, and I tried to read something about all the movies and so on. And then I didn't say anything special about the movies.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want to talk much because they wanted to, let us watch the show with no translation and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, in the few spaces where when I could talk, I just said rubbish, and
no, that's not true.
People liked it, so I was aware that someone on Twitter was very annoyed by me. I don't know if that's good or not, but despite that, many people said that they liked it, and thank you so much for checking it out also.
Yeah, it was fun. So you watched all the Best Pictures or all of them? Just all the Best Picture nominees?
I watched all the Best Picture nominees.
I had to watch 56 movies. I watched all 56 nominees. Right. Yeah, it was a lot.
Jeez. I couldn't do that in 2 days. You have to understand.
I had because
I watched like I wasn't expecting to watch all the nominees because I wasn't really interested to do it at the time, and there wasn't any special interest before the invitation. But I saw just like another round and one of the animated movies, I think. And 3 of the nominees by accident or for my because I was interested in the months before, and then this invitation appeared, and I was missing 5 nominees, 5 Best Picture nominees, and yeah, it was that.
Yeah, so let's get into the movie that you picked.
Yeah,
if you're gonna introduce it since you picked it.
The movie is Mildred Pierce, not to be mistaken with a more recent TV adaptation with Kate Winslet. It's an adaptation of the novel by James M. Cain. I wanted to see this movie for a long time, and it was the perfect occasion for it. It's well regarded as a big classic from Hollywood, from classic Hollywood cinema from 1940s, from director Michael Curtiz, most known by general audiences as the director of Casablanca, and one of those guys from the industry that made all kinds of movies with all kinds of stars, and as a filmography, a really, really interesting filmography. This is a movie about a woman trying to have a living for herself and to give a good life to her daughters. Then one daughter, but it's like a spoiler. It's very interesting because it's many people say that Michael Curtiz was just like a man from the studio that made everything that the chief wanted him to do, but this is such a stylish movie in certain moments. It is beautifully shot. It has Joan Crawford, which is amazing.
She's the star.
I think it's one of her best roles from what I've seen, and it's like a twist and turn movie. I don't think it has many great dialogues and many plot points and so on. It's a movie rather than an action movie. It's a dialogue movie, and to a dialogue movie to work, it has to have great dialogue, and that's what you have here.
Yeah.
And so, I understood that the classic status of this movie is well deserved. It's a great film, and I think this was a kind of introduction. I don't know if it was what you were expecting.
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie. It's a film noir, which you didn't mention, which a lot of people don't consider a genre. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's like a muddy subject, because film noir was like an expression created to describe a certain type of movie, but the American studios and filmmakers didn't have the idea of creating a genre. It was like a more critic's idea than but when you see a movie like this, or I don't know, like many other film noirs that are really well regarded, like The Maltese Falcon or Double Indemnity or Out of the Bag.
We're also gonna do definitely an episode on
something. Sorry?
We're definitely gonna do an episode on Double Indemnity at some point, because that's my favorite one.
Yeah,
it's one of the best movies of all time for sure.
That's a masterpiece. But you can see some similarities between them. Some in the plot, some in the style of the shot, some in the atmosphere. And it's like to answer quickly to your question, I don't think it's a genre, but I love the idea of watching a film noir. So even if it's not really a genre, in my mind, it happens to be, because all the ideas and the mythology of that kind of movie that stayed in my mind, which I love. I mean, I love black and white movies, and one of the reasons I love them is it's because of film noir.
Yeah, I would agree. I think film noir is just a cynical take on crime dramas during the war and post-war periods, which this one came out the year the war ended, so I assume it was filmed during the end of the war. And it's a heavily feminist movie. It focuses heavily on the female independence that this woman had. And during the war, a lot of women had to do this. They didn't have a choice. She did, because she was a strong female that didn't bow down to her husbands, that she wanted to provide for her daughters. As you said, one of them, perishes during this. So she's trying.
Yeah, but that sorry.
Go ahead.
No. That's one of the things that makes this movie so relevant today, is that feminist take, because in many movies like this, in this era, you have a man as the main character, and even some sort of situations just like this in this movie, but you have such an amazing main character and such an amazing star, Joan Crawford. Even her twisted daughter is such an impeccable character. And then, even despite that, you have a great role of a cast of secondary characters, of male and female characters, and but that feminist take, I mean, I understand completely why this movie stood the test of time, because it's so relevant. It's a very good movie, of course, and after all, after the themes and all that stuff, what really matters is the quality of the movie, and it's a really good one. But that theme is really important to make a connection with modern audiences that are not so aware of old movies, so to speak.
It's not even that old. It's from 45, so...
Yeah, that's why I used the inverted commas, because...
you did hair quotes, but
I hate that expression. Yeah, but I hate that expression, but many people avoid movies from other eras because of that time distancing we have from them. But this is one of those movies that I think would work really well with any person.
Yeah, there's no difference between how this movie was made and how it'd be made nowadays. It's just good, and you could just grab the adapted screenplay and just roll with it and just keep making it. I think a lot of people, of course, they like the movie, but they hate the daughter, Vita, because I think she's there to contradict the mother.
She's such a spoiled brat.
Yeah, she's a spoiled brat, but that's to show that she's the complete opposite of her mother, because her mother is a very hard worker. And the daughter is not. She's willing to take anything from anyone. It doesn't really care how hard they have to work for it.
Yeah. And the daughter has this big desire just not to be like her mother. And then you have this kind of... and the daughter makes this duality of the characters really interesting, because it's like a class struggle in a box. Because you have an independent mother that has to fight against all the conventions and to have a life of her own, and then you have the daughters that just want to be like a member of high society and just want to have a place where she doesn't really belongs, because she doesn't like her real life. And that's really, really interesting and works really well, once again, because of the actresses, which are... I watched the movie in the Criterion Collection Blu-ray, and there's a really interesting interview with the actress that played the daughter of Joan Crawford and Blythe. And it's really great that she has so good memories about the shooting, and also she told the story about her relationship with the maid, the actress that played the maid of the house, which is one of those things that today wouldn't work that kind of character. But
she's the maid character, I guess, is the only down point to it, really. It's a little racist, not extremely racist. It's a little bit.
I mean, I've seen worse. I've seen really, really worse.
Definitely.
But I understood by the things that she said in the interview that actress had really that kind of voice. It wasn't like some stereotypical. So I would forgive a bit because of that. But I mean, it couldn't work today. But I mean, fortunately, she doesn't have a bigger role in the movie. If she had, it could be more problematic, as you say nowadays.
Yeah, but at the time, this was normal. This type of main character that got dressed up, so it's not a big deal in this movie. I think the biggest problem that people have, what I saw online, is that Joan Crawford is very enabling towards her daughter, which goes against her being independent and very strong, which I don't agree with personally. I do think the daughter is there to create the duality of a strong woman and then someone that just wants to be high society, go to these parties and smoke. She starts smoking halfway through the movie. And yeah, what do you think about that? Do you think that it's a problem?
That's an interesting. No, that your opinion is really interesting, because what I just see, it's that kind of classic opposition between daughters and mothers. I mean, the daughter always wants to be anything that her mother wasn't, and her mother wants her daughters to be something that she couldn't be. But this works in a really twisted way, because if Joan Crawford works so hard to give to her daughters the life that she couldn't have when she was their age, then the daughter fights against herself and her own status, social status, just to an illusion of being an illusion of grandeur, as you could say. And I mean, it's the classic generation conflict, but with the social twist that it's much more. It has much more than meets the eye. I mean, it's like also a reflection about what the war was making to America, like you said, and what the war and all the atmosphere that was going on there created in families and in family relations, and yeah, that's that.
Yeah, the daughter seemed to kind of hate what the mother did. She hated the restaurant and everything about it. She didn't want to be part of it, but she wanted the money that came from it because it turned out to be really successful.
Yeah.
And she opened more restaurants. And even the guy that she was seeing, which was the guy that sold the property, he also used her. And then at the end, which is what you got to love about any film noir, is that big twist at the end. The daughter tries to take the guy from the mother.
Yeah,
that doesn't work.
That was like, I mean, for me, it was a little predictable, but I love to see it coming true, because it is so powerful to see them both kissing when Joan Crawford opens the door, and then all the final sequence in the police station. Sorry. I was thinking about Leslie Nielsen. I don't know, but in the police station where you know that no, it wasn't Joan Crawford who murdered Monty all along. It was the daughter, and even at that moment, you see her daughter being like the twisted mind that she has, because even at that moment, she turns to her mother and says, "You promised me you wouldn't say anything," and her eyes are so full of, like, I don't know if it is hate or not, but it's so powerful of such a bad feeling that, I mean, that relationship was rotten for a long time. But even at that moment of despair, you can see that. I mean, before that, there was a moment where the daughter plead to her mother and said, "Mother, I will change. But in the end, you can understand that would never happen. And yeah, that's a noirish thing. I mean, the cynicism and the not believe that people can be good or can be turned as good people.
Yeah, and in that moment, you see that Joan Crawford tried her best, or the character did try her best to cover for the daughter, but she reached a point where she couldn't anymore. And I feel like it was the first time that the daughter got, or the second time she got told no. The first time she got told no, she killed someone. She killed a guy. And then the second time she got told no, she got arrested. So yeah, she's very spoiled, and people hate her. The internet hates her.
But I think it's the kind of character that you love to hate. I mean, it's not hating like I want this girl to die. It's just it's such a rich character and a rich
she's also a really good actress.
Yeah.
They're all really good. And I don't know the name of the guy, but the guy that tries to get with Joan Crawford, he's like the real estate
all the time.
Yeah, he's also really good.
That guy, I mean, the way the guy delivers his lines, it's like tasting a good wine. He has all the perfect timings, and I mean, the guy is perfect. I think it is it's Jack Carson. Jack Carson.
There you go.
The guy. He is really perfect. I saw him in other noirs, and he's really great.
Yeah, he's really good. Everyone's really good. I think just the guy that plays the love interest, he's the more, I'm not gonna say he's bad or mediocre, but he's whatever. He's just there. He plays his role.
I don't know. I can't agree with you, because at one time I understand what you're saying, and I think that his character is supposed to be less interesting than all the others, and there's a reason for it. But at the same time, the guy has such beautiful moments of dialogue, and he delivers them so well also, that I think, I mean, he was suitable for the role.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't have, if you had like, I don't know, a big actor from the time, like James Stewart making that kind of role, it wasn't supposed to, because he would steal the show.
Yeah, I get what you're
You
saying.
had to have this kind of medium actor, but he does his job so well. I mean, I was amazed by all the actors. I mean, this is just such a stellar cast from beginning to end. Even all the small roles, okay, except the maid, but all the rest, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just the cast, everything. The cinematography was pretty spot on for everything they're trying to get to, and even the soundtrack worked, and obviously the screenplay.
Yeah, the screenplay and the soundtrack. I was checking here the Blu-ray. The soundtrack was made by Max Steiner, which was one of the great composers of that time. And the music has this kind of melodramatic sense, of epic melodramatic sense, that when you see some Warner movies of this time, you can spot on when the music is going to happen, and when it happens, it's so good. And this is the case of that, because when you know that something is going to happen, there's the music coming on, and that kind of music. And but he was so good, and he had such a perfect ear for every scene. I think he made also the soundtrack for Casablanca, which is much more. It's not so noticeable, but it has some great.
Casablanca has its moments. Yeah, it has the piano. The piano music was iconic.
And that kind of violin in the climax scene in the airport. That kind of thing keeps rolling ad aeternum on your mind.
And you talked about Warner's. You watched it on the Criterion collection, but obviously not everything that Warner has is on HBO Max, which is great. A lot of it is also on Criterion because the old stuff is really good.
Yeah,
and we're actually trying to complete the Criterion collection as well. So we don't have Mildred Pierce yet. We have some other releases.
I just have like 4 or 5 Criterions in my collection.
They're so good.
Many.
They're so good.
They are really, really good. They are really good.
Their masters are really good.
Yeah, but at the same time, there are also other independent labels like Arrow and Masters of Cinema that sometimes they released in the UK things that Criterion can't release, and there are a lot of great independent labels working nowadays. I don't know for how much time they're going to work, but there's really a lot of great stuff. Yeah,
even stuff that started out smaller, like Mills Creek, that just did compilations of free movies, like the
like budget releases as a
but now they're doing good stuff. Now they're doing Blu-ray release. I think they've even done 4Ks at this point, and they're doing like shows that no one else is releasing. So yeah, these independent labels are really
I mean, I think streaming is great, and it's like another opportunity to see a lot of things, but at the same time, it's not going never to be enough, because there is such an amount of movies and TV shows that are lost in multiple owners and distributors, and you can't ever have all the movies that you want in one place. You have to have all of them spread in many platforms, and many of them are even in no platform at all. Not the case of Mildred Pierce, as you said, but yeah.
It's also the quality, because I use Mubi a lot, and Mubi, as good as the selection is, their streaming is awful. Their streaming buffers a lot. It sucks sometimes, but a lot of the times you can't get stuff that's on Movie Anywhere else because they don't get released anywhere else. So there's also that aspect where there's a lot of stuff only on DVD and Blu-ray, and there's a lot of stuff only on streaming.
Yeah.
Like all the Netflix stuff is only on streaming, but people are used to that because everyone has Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, but for all the things that aren't Netflix, it's like The Godfather was available here in Netflix for some time, and then it disappeared. I mean, I never expected to see The Godfather when it was on Netflix, but I thought, well, this is a well-known movie. Why it lasted so just like a year or so. But then I think I bought this Blu-ray of Mildred Pierce like 3 or 4 years ago, and I just saw it. I mean, I like the fact that I can see this movie not in 30 days or in 60 days. I can see it when I want to do it. So yeah, I like physical media for that, but I think streaming is great, and the Criterion channel is just amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't have the time to see so many great movies in such a short period of time.
The Criterion channel and the HBO Max is crossovering a lot, though. Now at this point, there's a lot of crossover in the content. And I think for the general public, HBO Max might be better, but the Criterion channel is incredible.
Yeah, it's the only streaming platform that keeps me amazed. I mean, each time I go see it, I had a trial once, and I mean, but my problem with streaming is that there is so much great stuff there I want to see, and then I don't see anything because 2 hours later, I have to go to bed because I work tomorrow. But it's really, really great. And I mean, everyone knows streaming was a revolution, but to have such a well curated platform and as the Criterion channel is really amazing.
Yeah. So, do you want to rate the movie, or you're not going to give it a rating? Some people don't like to rate movies.
No, I will rate the movie in my Letterboxd account. I'm going to give it 4 stars, and I think when I rewatch the movie in another time and another place, I will like it more, because especially if I saw it in a big screen, and throughout the years I understood that many movies that I enjoyed, or even movies that I didn't enjoy it so much, I rediscovered in a big screen, like perfect different movies. In this case, I enjoyed the movie really, really much. But I think, I mean, like you said, the cinematography is so good that it deserves to be seen in the biggest screen possible. And today it wasn't the case, so I think I want to see it in another time in the proper screen.
Yeah, so you give it a 4 out of 5, which is an 8 out of 10, and I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's really good, but there's something little holding you back. I don't know what it is. Obvious, you said the twist. You see it coming, but I really like the feminist aspect. I really love Joan Crawford in this. She's amazing, and the screenplay is really good, and that's why I got adapted recently for TV.
Yeah, but for me, the predictableness of the twist wasn't a problem. I mean,
it doesn't take anything away from it.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was I mean, I was expecting that her daughter and Monty were going to get involved.
They set it up pretty nicely.
Yeah, and because the movie guides you from the beginning, and we forgot to say this, but one of the great qualities of the movie, it's the fact that even from the first frame, you are hooked by the movie. I mean, you are all intrigued, all obsessed with the movie in the beginning, because you know that something happened. I want to discover what happened. And all the movie, through the entire length of the movie, they give you the idea that it was Joan Crawford that did it. And it wasn't really surprising, but the way it was made was really surprising. And I mean, plots and stories, all of them were made, and all the twists possible were made. And if a twist is predictable, not in the bad sense of the word, I don't have any problems with that, because the movie is rich, it had so many rich stuff to enjoy, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I don't mind the twist because it was so nicely set up with the interactions that they had throughout the movie, so it's not really a problem.
Yeah, it's really well constructed, and as you said, the screenplay is near perfect. I mean, it's really great.
Yeah, the screenplay and the acting is near perfect, and yeah, I can't really point anything wrong with it, but I'm just not going to give it a perfect score. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like, I mean, what is a perfect movie? I mean, you can say that this movie or that movie is perfect, but then if you see it with other eyes, I mean, if you watch The Godfather with, you don't have to watch it carefully to see that scene where Sonny fights with Connie's husband in the street. When he gives him a punch, the punch really didn't hit him, but the guy moves his head. But I mean, there's like little stuff, and in this kind of ratings of the movies, I mean, I don't know what it is a perfect movie. I mean, you can change your perspective about the movie from time to time, and just the fact that the movie we are recommending the movie, I think it's the only thing you need to know. I mean, even if it was a bad movie, but we said, oh, okay, but it's really funny, like The Room or something else. But this is a great movie, not a perfect movie in that sense, but it's really a rich movie, and I think that it could improve with more reviewings. And yeah.
That's the good thing about podcasting and the people that listen to us, is that when we say a movie's good, or when we talk about it, just the way we talk about it, some people get really inspired to watch the movie. They leave it in the comments, and that's really motivating to keep doing this for me.
Yeah, for me also, as a podcaster and as a listener also, I love to check out and discover new movies just because someone talk about them in a podcast, and that's it.
Yeah, okay, so you've mentioned Letterboxd, so I'm going to link your Letterboxd below as well, so everyone go follow him and us.
Thank you.
And like and subscribe if you can. If you're on a platform where you cannot, you can share it. And thank you for listening. See you next time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation, Gonçalo, once again. And all the best for your podcast.